And we are live.
Oh, jolly good.
Once again.
Yeah.
Hello.
Another week and we're still here. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Greetings, my little Tuesday terriers. Are you all ready? Are you steady? Well, then let's go.
Exactly. So how many of you stayed up all night like us complete idiots watching the coronation?
Mm-hmm. And of course, then there's the Eurovision going on in Liverpool, my hometown.
Yeah.
The 9th, the 11th, and the final is on the 13th.
Poor Martin's like, oh my God, if I hear one more trumpet.
No more trumpets.
No more trumpets.
No more trumpets, yeah.
Absolutely no trumpets.
Yeah.
Hi, Rick. Hi.
But Ruth reminded, he was bitching and moaning about watching the television at 3 o'clock in the morning. And she said, hey, World Cup.
Yeah.
Remember?
I see your
said,
coronation.
oh, yeah.
I raise you the World
okay.
Cup. Absolutely.
Yeah, he calmed down after that.
So there you go.
Yeah.
That's our news. We're still jet lagged from the coronation.
Yeah. So, but we're brave little soldiers, aren't we?
We are. We
we'll
carry on.
But today we have another old friend that we haven't seen for, at least 6 or 7 years.
Well, he's not that old. He's still, he's still a hot rocker.
Oh,
baby.
I know he is. Yeah, I think he's had the Peter Pan tablets. He looks.
He's got in the vocal booth. He's probably got a picture of Dorian Gray hanging on the wall.
Probably, yeah. So yes, his name is Otto D'Agnolo, and he's in
Phoenix.
Where is he?
Tempe, Phoenix, Mesa. He'll tell us.
Yeah,
and
Arizona anyway.
He's an Emmy-winning songwriter, record producer, TV producer now, and he's got various things going on. We first got to know Otto back through Fox 10 in Phoenix, back in the American Idol days, and then discovered he has a fantastic John Lennon show. So, Greg, hello from Phoenix. You have a local. And the crowd goes wild. Without further ado, we will welcome our Emmy-winning friend. See how I drop those names?
Yeah.
Good, isn't it? Otto D'Agnolo, all the way from OttoD.com and The Recording Artist. And the crowd goes wild.
Hey.
Hi, good morning.
How are you guys doing?
We're fine. And you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me on the show.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Absolutely.
I'm delighted to be in touch.
And it's wonderful to see you after what has been a number of years.
It has in person, indeed. I think something that our entertainment was doing was the last time we were able to imbibe together.
Yeah.
It's been a while. So you have got so many hats you wear.
I know. Yeah.
I don't even know. I frankly don't even know where to begin. I mean, maybe begin at the beginning. And how did you first get involved with the whole music industry and figure out the magic sauce of how to make a living?
It's I guess like everybody else, music picked me instead of me picking music. My parents are the ones who knew before I did that I was going to be doing something in music.
Oh.
Stuck in the basement with the toy organ and the transistor radio, find a song and then learn it at 8 years old all day long. So they knew. So I started on trumpet, but Martin, no more trumpets. I won't play. I still have one. And then, in fact, I'll be playing it in New York on August 24th for the first time in 40 years on stage at a concert, which is kind of it's going to be fun. I can't. This is a funny thing, but anyway, that's a whole other story. But I moved into guitar, obviously, because that was more interesting to the girls in my class, and it's like, oh, that girls like guitar, and started playing rock bands, and I think ended up getting into recording, which for me was a lot of fun, and I thought I could find musicians that were so much better than me, and it was more fun to kind of make a record with them than make a record with myself. I became an engineer producer guy for over 40 years now. I've been making records. So it's kind of how I got into that whole thing.
Mm-hmm. And then composing and arranging would come as part of that, right?
Oh, absolutely. And what's neat is when you work with really talented people for years, you get better even on that side, because you're watching great songwriters and great musicians talk about what they're going to do. And I remember picking my guitar up to record a song with about a 15-year gap from really being seriously recording something. And I realized a few minutes in, I'm a better guitar player than when I put my guitar down. And that was just from my ears and my experience growing so much over that time frame. It's amazing what that ear training does for you.
Osmosis, I think they call it, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really is. So
is that where they also came from?
No, they come from Utah.
Oh, okay.
And if anybody's interested, you can go to OttoD.com and stream my records for free and just listen. So
well, that brings me to a question that I was going to ask further down the pike, but who is Caesar Bach? Any relation to the famous composer?
No, I'm a huge Elvis Costello fan, and that was my first record, the Caesar Bach record, and I didn't want to put my name on it because I didn't want to scare my clients away because I knew it was going to be a pretty crazy record. And so I wanted an alter ego, and I wanted to pick a name. And I loved how when Elvis Costello came out, I was initially upset that anybody would pick Elvis. That's like, you can't call yourself Elvis. And then to attach an American comedian's last name, Costello, are you making fun of Elvis? And then your album's called My Aim is True. And I'm like, well, which one is it? So I thought you had to go listen. And when you listened, you either decided this guy was a genius or he was an idiot, because he's a very interesting character. And I loved how his name removed any pre-existing concept of what he might be, and you had to listen. So I wanted a similarly singular name, and being Italian, Caesar, I thought would be good. And then since it's 2 syllables, I had to have a 1-syllable last name to get the 3-syllable thing. So we just came up with that as a name.
Wow.
In a crazy way, being such a Beatle influenced artist and such sounding like John when I sing by accident. The first copy sold on CD Baby was bought in Rome, Italy, and shipped to London, England. It's actually to Liverpool, England. And I couldn't believe that my first CD sold attached. I only sold 5, but it was like attached to those 2 elements or those 2 cities. You know?
Wow, well, that's the musical universe at work, right?
It really is. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I love Elvis Costello, but he's kind of like, I've always thought of him as the avocado of music. You either like him or you don't, you know?
Did you know his father was a drummer in the Joe Loss Orchestra, one of the big bands in England in the early days?
I didn't realize that.
And they came from Wallasey, across the water from Liverpool.
And his real name was Costello.
Yeah.
How fantastic. That's amazing.
Yeah.
I've just always been a fan. He's just great music. And even today, I mean, his most recent records are still relevant and cool. He's a great creator.
I love the fact of just thinking, what is the sort of the daily household routine conversation with him and his wife?
Yeah.
Diana Krall, the jazz goddess. I mean, who'd have thunk, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would imagine that they impact each other pretty tremendously. Because they come from different points of view. You know?
Yeah, no, David House is asking, Abbott and Costello. Yeah, no, that was what Otto thought when he first heard Elvis Costello's name, but it is actually his father's real birth family name.
Yeah, who's on first?
Yeah, exactly. Crazy. Yeah. Crazy.
I want to shout out to Greg. I saw Greg Varlotta here. Greg is an incredible trumpet player, trombonist, and tap dancer.
Tap dancer?
Fascinating.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
He should get together with Christopher Walken.
Oh, no, he's an amazing tap dancer. Have you seen?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Walken did a music video. He was the music video for a Fatboy Slim record years ago. And he literally just tap danced his way all the way through it. And more recently, Daniel Craig, our James Bond, who is also from Liverpool, he just did a tap dancing music video. So, bring tap back, Greg, I say.
Yeah.
Well, Greg tours with Nils Lofgren a lot, and Nils had hip surgery, had both of his hips replaced, and he asked his doctor, "Hey, would tap dancing be good for my hips? For motion and it's low impact?" And he's like, "Yeah." So Greg started teaching Nils to tap, and when they tour, they actually tap during the show because Nils has Greg stand on a platform with mics under it, and he taps the drum track while Nils plays.
Wow.
Well, my tap teacher years ago in Liverpool, I went to something called the Northwest Stage School, and one of our rotating peripatetic, I get points for that, peripatetic tap teachers that came in was Nigel Lithgow, who co-invented American Idol and invented So You Think You Can Dance. So I learned tap from Nigel back in the day. And then also my main teacher was a lady called Penny Robinson, who had the fortune in the 1940s or 50s to fly to America. And she learned directly from Fred Astaire. Wow. So, I was one step removed from all the old, Fred Astaire tricks and taught by 2 pretty good. Nigel's still got, I can't say light in the loafers because that means something else completely. And he's definitely not that. But he's light on his feet, let's just say.
Yeah.
He's tap is an amazing thing for the brain, actually.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I have to take it up myself.
Yeah.
I like to sing and play a lot. So
then we can call you Otto Twinkle Toes D'Agnolo, you see.
I'll take it.
I don't know how you'd work tap dancing into a John Lennon show, but where did all of that begin for you?
Oh my gosh. a guy came into my studio who created shows for casinos, and he wanted to get out of that line of work. And so a friend said, "Hey, meet my buddy Otto. He's got a studio. Maybe he could hire you, to play in sessions as a guitarist." So we met. We're not 5 minutes into our meeting, and he's like, "Why aren't you doing a John Lennon tribute show? You look just like the guy." And so, I mean, if I messed up my hair and I put on my little round glasses, it's kind of a,
yeah, absolutely.
Has kind of a look, whatever. But, and then I sound just like the guy when I sing. So we put the show together. We started working in casinos, and that worked for a few years. And it was a lot of fun because I started as a performer. And now we have a new show coming out that is presented by Live from Laurel Canyon, which is a show that plays the performing arts centers around the country. Well, we're putting together a new rendition of that show that features the music of the Lost Weekend, which is just John Lennon and Harry Nilsson. And since those guys in the group don't sing that stuff, they've asked me to sing the show. So
fantastic. Have you seen the May Pang Lost Weekend film yet?
I have. It was fantastic.
Isn't it incredible?
Yeah.
May's a dear friend of ours. She's actually just been on TeaFlix with us.
Yeah, and it was going to be good, but I loved all the photos she took. I didn't realize she had such a collection of photographs.
Yeah, she's got an out of print book now called Instamatic Karma. It's out of print now. But we did a series of when NFTs first came out 18 months ago. We did a limited series of May's photos, and we animated them. And there are still some John Lennon NFTs that we created with a company in Canada. Yeah, she's got an incredible amount of photos, and I thought it was great the fact that Julian is in it. They still have a great relationship. And on her opening night, like 4 or 5 weeks ago, he sent her this huge bouquet of flowers. And cool. But if not for May, Julian wouldn't have had the relationship he had with John before he died.
To see that relationship in the film, I really enjoyed watching the film a lot. Thought it was great.
Yes.
Yeah.
If anyone's interested in seeing any of the John Lennon stuff I've done, there is a website you can go to. It's called alennonlegacy.com. And there's a couple performance videos there. If you want to check
I saw your show. It's absolutely eerie. It's uncanny having,
it's weird. Yeah. That's really why I do it, because people freak out. And the receiving line at the end of the show is as long as the concert, because people I found that the audience never got closure, because John was about to go on his first tour in 1980, when the record came out. And it didn't happen. And we never really saw him out and about. And I think for a lot of people, that was an issue. And I found that when I would perform, so many people, big guys, would just give me a massive hug saying, "Thanks for keeping the music alive." I've done a Brooks and Dunn tribute show. That doesn't happen. They don't give you a big hug and thank you like that. It's not the same thing. But the Lennon crowd is intensely missing that connection.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, John, Ange had much more as an adult to do with John when he used to come and stay at our house. He was, He was a complex character, let's just say that.
Oh, absolutely. But I saw him as a frightened little boy that too much was happening too fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That was my take.
Yeah, we all had to start somewhere, huh?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it sort of exploded on them so quickly when they went to Hamburg, then they came back to Liverpool, and then London, and then all of a sudden Ed Sullivan in the world. You think how long most musicians struggle for that kind of recognition. And they would, they started, obviously, they met in the late 1950s in Liverpool, but the world didn't get to know about them until 1963. And by 1969, they were all done and dusted.
I know. It was just
it was a very short career.
What they have left behind in the 6 years that they were creating.
Right.
It's just unfathomable, the size of the size of the catalog and
it's unbelievable.
Impact. And the quality, not just the number of songs, but anybody in the Western world who grew up with a radio has got a favorite song or a Beatles story or something. We played this at my wedding, or my grandmother's favorite song was, or it is truly amazing. Nick is asking, did you ever meet Pete Best? Oh yes. Ange, did you ever meet Pete Best?
Yes, I've met Pete Best. Oh, Pete is lovely, and he and Rogue have got a lot going on in Liverpool with the one of the museums, a great museum they've got.
On Matthew Street, yeah.
Yeah, on Matthew Street near the Cavern. And then there's the Casbah where they lived and grew up. That's just being converted into a hotel. And I think they were hoping to have it open I promise you I haven't had a drink. I'm breaking his teeth in for a friend.
I was thinking I might have one of those over there, you know.
Yeah, she's breaking those teeth in for a horse, actually.
Oh, thanks.
It's quite okay.
No, they were hoping to have it open by today, which is the first of the Eurovision 3-night events in Liverpool. The 9th, the 11th, and the 13th is the Eurovision Song Contest. And they're dancing in the streets and the music everywhere.
So the Casbah Bed and Breakfast is going to be open in time for that, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
It used to be called the Casbah Club, and it was where they actually played their first gigs. It was Mona Best's house, Pete Best. And a lot of Beatle fans still don't know that Rogue Best, who is Pete's half-brother, same mother, Mona Best, his father was Neil Aspinall, who ran Apple, who was the Beatles' roadie. Ha! If you catch my drift.
Yeah.
So it's
happy families.
Talk about a close-knit family. Absolutely.
Cool. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's crazy. Yeah, you got a lot of Lennon fans on here, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, my only other Beatle connection is that I did a lot of work with Billy Preston, and that was a lot.
Yes, you did.
Really?
And I tracked him on a bunch of records at my studio and worked on a lot of his own music with him. So that was a lot of fun.
He was a sweetheart, wasn't he?
He was a gentleman.
Unbelievable player. So
I mean, if there was ever a fifth Beatle, I think the toss-up is between Billy and Sir George Martin. That's a tough call. But
Tell Otto about interviewing him.
Yeah, well, obviously our joint friend Joyce Moore was managing Billy.
That's right.
Yes, of course. And so Joyce, being a Phoenix gal those days, and Sam, the lovely, legendary Sam Moore. Joyce, if you're watching, we'd love to have you guys on here. They reintroduced me to Uncle Billy as I knew him, and he was living out here in Baldwin Hills. And as his health started to decline, sadly, Joyce called me one morning. She said, "Billy's home this afternoon. He's in good shape. Have you got a video camera? Can you get over to Baldwin Hills and interview him?" And as it turned out, it was the last interview he ever gave, and I have it. Yeah. What a sad story, but what a gentleman. And, you know, honestly, I think if George Harrison hadn't brought him into the group, they'd have broken up a lot sooner.
Yeah. In fact, in the recent movie, the remake of the Let It Be movie, I thought it was fascinating that John and George started talking about, what if we make him a member of the band? Yeah, we need a keyboard player anyway. And then Paul immediately was like, I think 4 of us is enough. I mean, he realized this conversation, we don't have time for this right now. Let's keep things in control. But it would have been interesting to see if he became an actual member, if the band would have had a little bit more longevity and legs, if he would have been something that kept it together for a while.
Yeah. I mean, he was just such a lovely influence, and he'd gone through his tough times and his druggy period and his anger management and all of that. And I think Billy is one of those rare people who went through all those tough things and came out the other side a better, nicer gentleman. He really was. It didn't break him, because he still had his faith. Right. He grew up in the church. He told me a funny story. When he was a kid, he perfected his Ray Charles impersonation, and Ray lived somewhere close to where Billy grew up, and they would go around and ring the doorbell to see if Ray was home, and then get cold feet and run away. And he said, I was about 9 years old. He said, I rang the doorbell one day after school, and Ray Charles, he must have been right in the hallway. He opened it up and he's like, Mr. Charles, I can sing just like you. I can play the piano just like you. And he said, I started doing Ray Charles, a 9-year-old Billy, to Ray Charles. He said, and he let me finish the whole song. He said, thanks, kid, but we don't need another Ray Charles around here. We already got one. You have a nice day. Shut the door. But he had the balls to stand on the step and do the whole number,
Yeah,
it's
so incredible.
It is absolutely amazing. So, Ange has a question here about your book.
Oh, yes. I read a book that you wrote. It was years ago. What was it called? Something about...
The music business is burning down, thank God.
Burning down the business or something, yeah.
That's interesting you bring that book up. That was when I really started to recognize how much was changing in the industry and how fast. And as an artist, I kind of had that perspective, but in making my living as a studio facility owner, I really saw what was going on from a different level. And how much the business matters more than the art at the record company level made the whole process even more difficult. And really that led to what I'm doing now, which is at therecordingartist.com. That was kind of the impetus for this project, because I realized that more people wanted to be me than needed me to be me. In other words, everybody wanted to be the record producer, engineer guy, but the bands were going to go home and do it themselves. And the record companies started hiring producers who happened to have studios. So the client base for a studio was kind of drying up or modifying. And I looked at who could be that next client for a big fancy studio. I had a big fancy room at the time. So I thought, well, it's the people that want to be me. So if I give the bands the studio time and charge the kids to watch online, maybe I can reconnect the way they want to pay for music.
Yeah.
So in 2014, we started it for a year. It was a little ahead of its time. And in 2020, we kind of revamped it, this time with a television show component. So now every Wednesday, we bring bands into the studio. They webcast a recording session for 2 hours with me. And then the next day I mix it for 2 hours online. We post it on the website for free. We give the band the song for free. We give the band the multi-track so they can keep working on it. They don't pay a penny. We put them on the webcast. We put them on our television show, which is on Amazon Prime. We also have our own Roku channel, so the television shows are over there. So the bands are getting a lot of lifts, and the fans can participate by, if they become a member of the website, subscription website, they can actually watch us make the record. And just like people are chatting on this cast, they can chat in our control room with us and impact the making of the record.
Wow, that's fantastic.
It is.
Because if the audience, it's kind of similar to being an opening act for a big name. You don't get paid to play, but the audience has paid ticket money to come and see the show, right? To support the venue, right? Yeah. It's the same kind of financial model. But how lucky are these bands? And I think one of the there's a surprise component. I watched the shows on Amazon Prime over the weekend. Really enjoyed it. And so, but there's a surprise component that Casey, I think her name is, your A&R lady, announces, correct?
Courtney is on season 1.
Courtney. Sorry, yes.
Yeah, it's really fun because when the band comes in, they send us 3 of their songs a week before they're on. And we post those for our A&R level membership to vote on which song the band's going to play. So they didn't even know what song they're going to record. So sometimes those songs, the recordings they send me, they made on their phone at a rehearsal, or sometimes there are records they've already released that they're willing to maybe redo. So our membership picks the ones they want us to do. And then we go live at 7 o'clock. Our head of A&R comes on the big screen and tells them, here's what people have picked for you to record. And then I take my little timer and I start a 2-hour countdown clock and off we go. And if we don't get vocals on the song, it's an instrumental because we get 2 hours to make the record. How many of the bands have, if they submit 3 songs, if that's me, I'm going to rehearse and practice those 3 songs till my eyeballs fall out, right? But some of them, I guess, don't think that song that they're going to record is going to get picked. And so they're kind of rough around the edges, right? It's kind of funny. Musicians, a lot of musicians aren't in music because they're a personality, get things done. They tend to want to do less and do nothing and hang out and vibe. And so, if they go, gosh, we don't have to learn all 3 songs. They're going to pick this one. So we'll just learn that one. So I even had one guy come in and he hadn't written any of the lyrics to the other song. He kind of just made some stuff up on the demo and they picked the one he hadn't written. So we had to write it. And on episode 9 on Amazon, there's a 1-minute segment about that session. It's a short segment, but it features the part where he's like, Otto, I haven't written the second verse yet, but we'll just start at the front. And I said, don't worry about it. Just come up with something on the way there. And I hit record. And he goes, okay. And then he starts to realize what I said. And he just starts laughing like, come up with something while I'm singing. Yeah, we don't have any time. Let's go. So,
but I mean, isn't it hilarious that they've got this huge break, this big opportunity with, this famous producer who's given them free studio time. He's putting them on television on Amazon Prime for the world to see. They submit 3 songs, and one of them they haven't even written lyrics to. I mean, how dingy do you have to be, right?
Yeah, it's pretty funny. And now what's interesting too is we're adding a school component. Because what I've found is that in 2 hours, if I have a really good band, I get to dive into the detail and the emotional expression of what they're doing. And if I say, do this, they can just do it because they're talented musicians. And then you have bands at the beginning where if I change it much, they have a hard time because they have it memorized a particular way. So you with them and stretch them out of their box. But then there's a whole another level, which in my recording career, I've spent a lot of time doing, and that's recording new kids coming in maybe for the first time. So it's not just getting a good recording, it's a whole lot of teaching and training about the process.
Yes.
And they think they're better than they are. So you got to say, well, don't play it like that because you can't quite pull that off. Try this. And in a 2-hour session, that's really difficult. But what we found is it does become kind of an opportunity to teach these guys. So we're starting to reach out to some different schools. Some reached out to us, and we're going to maybe once a month. It's still kind of in the works, but hoping once a month to bring in college-age band of students that haven't had that kind of experience yet, so that not only are we presenting our audience with experienced people, but the process of these new kids who haven't had that experience yet, and giving them that opportunity, you know.
Are you thinking that may be a 3-hour session? Because I mean, if they haven't played to a click, or if they've never even worn headphones, or, you know, there's a lot of sensory perception going on when you first get in the studio, isn't there?
There is. And 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours, all of those would be better than 2 hours in terms of the record. Yeah. But in terms of the audience participating, I think 2 hours is a real limit for people to want to watch. So we give them a 2-hour setup ahead of time. And I think what I'll do is, in some of these cases, as we move forward, I may have to do a pre-production session with these guys where we do train them a little bit on some of the process, but ultimately giving them that experience and opportunity and having their friends participate online is just, I think, invaluable for where they're headed, you know?
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, I remember, you know, growing up around studios and sort of being familiar with the lingo. I'd, you know, sit on the floor in the tracking room or sit in the corner in the control room. But, you know, even people don't even know the terms when they hear stuff. There's a language. It's like a film set. There's a lingo that goes on that we take for granted because it's our business.
And so, because most of our subscribing members aren't necessarily musicians, they're just music fans. We actually have a list of tutorial videos you can watch for free on the website that describe simple words like that all of us know. But if we say it on the show, they're like, "What's a punch in? What's a click track? What do they mean by BPM and tempo?"
Right. Yes.
Back to one.
All of those little words on the website.
Yeah, back to one, or take it from bar 15. They don't know how to from the top. Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? When you just it's like any business, I suppose. Gotcha. You know, I'm a big foodie, and we represent a lot of chefs, and so I've spent enough time in commercial kitchens holding a camera that, you know, I understand herd and mise en place and things like that. So, you know, you develop the lingo, but if you're a student in school and you get dumped in this amazing opportunity with Otto at therecordingartist.com, it's got to be like drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah. That's a good way to put it. It can be. And I have to be careful too, because I can be a fire hose. And I have to remember, okay, you're back here. If I tell you everything I want to tell you, you're not going to understand a word I'm saying. So we need to break it down to what's really going to be of value to you that's going to help us go where we need to go. And it's an exercise for me to step back there. It is.
Yeah, but you're certainly giving them tremendous opportunities, aren't you?
Absolutely. That's Dina,
our
friend from our also an Emmy-winning sports camera lady, DP. She shot for I think 20 or 30 years. She shot all of the major. She did all the NFL games, Monday Night Football. She was a rare lady in a sea of men. Yeah. And then she and her partner, Jeff, filmed the Reagan funeral and the George W. Bush inauguration. And so they've had to learn many languages, not only from camera and tech, but then sports and also, you know, CIA and government and federal stuff. So I think, you know, glossaries of terms are so important. You don't think about them necessarily, but they really are. They get you where you're going faster, right?
Yeah, they really do. And every industry has it. But you're right. If they're going to participate in our show, they need to. It's better when they do understand some things. So we've got that there. And if anybody is interested, all 70 bands we've done on the show so far, you can go to the website and stream them for free and listen to every 2-hour recording. They're all on the website. Just scroll to the bottom and click stream our songs.
And also join, even better, become a member, and then you get the live deal on Wednesday nights.
And vote on the songs. And the other thing is we're actually actively looking for sponsors for the season 2 episodes. So if someone's interested in kind of participating, presenting this kind of content to give these musicians this opportunity, you can reach out to us on the website too. Love to hear from you.
Oh, absolutely. It's a broad demographic. Indie music covers, all kinds of consumers, right?
Yeah, it really
so
is.
You definitely have the audience if you're a sponsor and you want to get your product or your message in front of, that magical Gen Z, right? And the millennials.
I was once asked, what's your demographic? And I said, music lovers. And they say, that's not a demographic. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess it's pretty wide. And what we've learned is our number one subscriber are professional women over 30 and that aren't musicians. And then the television audience is broader. And our second subscriber are young guys that want to be recording engineers and producers or that are coming up. So
yeah.
That is interesting. I never would have guessed demographic number one, but maybe they've got cousins or friends, or they're thinking their young kids want to be musicians and they want to sort of, educate themselves. You can never know too much about anything, but thank God music is ubiquitous, and it saves the world on a daily basis.
Really is. And with our show, it's very much personality and process as much as it is music. And
it's great.
We get an intelligent audience because they can't believe these guys come in here not knowing what they're going to do, and 2 hours later, every time. And people
we aged up your demographic last weekend, 63 and 93. We watched your whole series. Couldn't tear myself away. It's like, good God, what, there was kind of an element of, you're rooting for these kids and you want to see them do well. And then there's, some of them are in self-destruction mode, and what can go wrong will go wrong. And you're like, duh.
It's fascinating. It's in the personality. It's amazing. And we want television, it needs to be engaging. So it's cut pretty quickly. Whereas the webcast, you get to watch a whole 2 hours of just making the song. That's cut down to 10 minutes in the television show,
Right.
Because if you want more, you go to the website and watch the longer version of the different bands.
Last weekend you were neck and neck with the coronation.
Yep. When the BBC started playing the reruns, we were like, we've seen that. Let's go back to Otto.
That's pretty cool.
It was King Charles Otto. King Charles.
How was that for you?
One of the people on the Sunday night variety show that they had, the coronation thing, was it? Hugh Bonneville, who was Lord somebody or other in
Downton Abbey.
He said something about, well, how did he introduce?
He said, ladies and gentlemen, congratulations to your majesties. And a little known fact that our current king is actually, we do hope he will carve out enough time in his schedule for the arts, because he's an incredibly gifted watercolor painter, which he is. He's pretty amazing. And he said, so there aren't many of you in the crowd that I'm looking out of that would be the age that know what King Charles is an artist. In fact, he's the artist formerly known as Prince.
Isn't that lovely?
And the king laughed his head off. He stood up and just, oh God.
That's a great line.
Yeah.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
Angie, let me ask you, emotionally, what was the coronation like for you? Because the last coronation was a long time ago.
Yep.
I watched that too, mind you. That was the first one ever televised.
She's been alive through 3 coronations and 5 monarchs.
Yeah.
Something else. So was it teary-eyed to watch, or is it just casual?
No, it evoked a lot of memories, of course, with the previous one. And, the love that everybody had for the Queen, the late Queen. It was all, very emotional for me in many cases. I'd like to think that Britain is going to make it, but things are very difficult at the moment. So I'm hoping that this king will he definitely intends to modernize and streamline the monarchy.
What a lot of people don't realize is that in 2011, all of the things that the royal family as people owned, they put in a trust, including Regent Street, the Oval Cricket Ground, Buckingham Palace, Windsor Castle, Balmoral. They put those in a public trust, and they give 75% of the money that is generated from all of those things and places to the British government and the taxpayer. They keep 25% for staff, heating, insurance, running expenses. But people are complaining about the monarchy and their privilege. To have the monarchy and all of the brand that it generates costs every taxpayer in England $1.40 per person per year. So what's your problem?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, how could you buy that much branding for a country and do tourism advertising on the taxpayer dime for $1.40 a year? It's like £1.12. I know it's crazy.
Oh, we've started something now.
But
Yeah,
I do get
it's
the
true.
other side of, well, why should they have inherited through a bloodline? Why should they have all this stuff? I see that point too. And there is the terrible shame of, colonialization and slavery and the Windrush generation and that family and its antecedents. I get points for that too. Have done some terrible, terrible things. But I think, the Queen was as beloved as she was, Mrs. Sausage, we call her. She was so stoic and she couldn't make as many changes as she really wanted to without damaging the brand. One thing she did do is put females in the line of succession. So now Princess Charlotte comes before Prince Louis, and the girls were always left to the last of the queue, which is why Princess Anne is the Princess Royal is so far down the queue. But I think Charles will have the goal and the nuts to actually make the changes that need to save Britain from itself, because it left Europe. And now it's this isolated little frozen rock sitting there going, well, we're not members of that club in, Spain and Portugal and Italy where the sun shines. We're just sat out here like muggins. Mm-hmm. I don't think he'll have the power to rejoin Brexit or what have you, but I think he'll be good just because he's been waiting. He's contemplated 50 odd years on how he's going to do the gig when he gets it. He's had time to think about it. If he hasn't got this many yellow pads full of plans, I'll be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
And Angie, I enjoyed your post about the girl in waiting, the side girl. Comes here.
Yes,
that was lovely.
There was that was actually sent to me by a chef from Houston, Chef David Skinner. So I turned it into a Mrs. McCartney's teas post and said, "What do you think?" It was a picture of Charles and Diana on a tea mug, and it says, "To all the side chicks out there, don't lose hope."
Yeah.
Charles, Diana.
No, Charles and Camilla. Sorry.
Yeah.
Freudian slip. Freudian slip. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So it's interesting to that you would be interested in our reaction to a coronation. But
as being colonists, we don't really have the same relationship to the history of it, and so it's fascinating to me because to know I have really watched The Crown as one series, and it's like Queen Elizabeth is such an interesting character. And the way how she got involved in, how she was so young and in such an odd place with such historic figures through such a historic time. And to have been alive watching that coronation going, here's our new queen. And then thinking that's going to happen again at some point, and it doesn't till forever. And all of a sudden it does again. Not a lot of people have lived at such a time to remember both the coronations. And I just wondered on that transition, how that really felt.
I like the continuity of the fact that a lot of the service was the same, but I also like the fact that the king flipped around, to be in the service of the people in the country. Although when the Queen made her first speech from Kenya, Treetops, when her father died, she famously said, my whole life, whether it be long or short, shall be in your service. And so she was all about service.
Don't give up your day job.
But she also couldn't break the mold of the previous monarchies. She had to go very gently, step by step by step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, big ships turn slow.
That's right. Can't flip a U-turn with an aircraft carrier, can you? Well, this has been a delight catching up with you. Our very special guests get a limerick. And so we would like to read you ours. We'll probably screw it up and do it twice, but we'll kiss it. We'll kiss it and mail it to you if I can get your mailing address offline. So 1, 2, 3.
There's nothing like meeting old friends and extolling their talents and trends. Young bands having a ball.
Otto's doing it all.
See,
I told you we'd screw it up. What a wonderful message he sends. Let's do that again.
That was a rehearsal. Okay, one more time from the top.
Yeah.
Now we're locked.
Now we're locked. Back to 1 and take 2. Call me in the morning. 1, 2, 3. There's nothing like meeting old friends and extolling their talents and trends. Young bands having a ball. Otto's doing it all. What a wonderful message he sends.
Ta-da!
Ta-da! Thank you. That's lovely.
Your medal's in the mail.
I'll take it.
Okay.
So tell the
I
folks
appreciate
in order of whatever you
Preference,
like,
yeah.
in order of preference, where the websites they should go to. There's all scrolling across the bottom. So if you watch that back, you can see those again.
Yeah, I think the thing that is really I'm all about right now is the recording artist. So
Yes.
that's therecordingartist.com. It's a really neat project that's just getting off the ground. Would love for people to participate and support all of these groups in this process because there's so much talent. And right now we've featured over 70 bands out of the greater Phoenix market. We still have another 150 on a spreadsheet that we'd like to have on the show. And these are all original music. And now we're starting to branch out. We're talking to a studio in Austin, Texas. We're talking to some people in Colorado, and we're talking to some people in New York. So I want the show to start to travel because our cameras can go in a suitcase and we can do this from anywhere. And so we're getting it working here. And I want to spread it out. I think it's just a wonderful project. So therecordingartist.com. And when you've signed up and worn out your welcome, then go to ottod.com and see what else I do. But I'll certainly start there.
Do you have any more plans for another book, or don't you have time?
No, I don't really have plans for another book. Although writing a book for me was amazing. It was very therapeutic because it's like, especially for an Italian who tries not to get mad all the time, you get to say what you want and no one gets to talk back until you write 100 pages. That's quite cathartic.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. You also wrote a romantic comedy, didn't you?
I did. I wrote a screenplay, a couple of them. I actually produced one and made the whole film. So it was kind of like my own film school. But the latest one that I've written with my wife is called Handcuffs and Coffee. And I'd love to shoot that film. And that's about a record producer who meets a federal agent. They start dating and they find out they have the same clients. So she starts arresting his people and they think he's turning them in. And so this whole dynamic spins around.
That's a great plot, isn't it?
It is a great plot. It'd be even more great if it was true.
It's really close to true.
We shan't tell. Your secret's safe with us.
But what's funny is it's close enough to true that I can imagine all the missing details and just plug it in. So the story was fun to write.
Yeah. So has Emily done a background check on you yet, or?
Oh, I'm sure she did one on the way to the car the day we met.
It's a gray area.
It's a gray area. I was telling Otto before we did one of our Magical History Tour Beatles shows where Angie and I sit and yak and talk about the stories behind the songs with the Beatle band, and we were in Staten Island of all places where everyone's last name ends in a vowel, a little like yourself.
Yeah.
And backstage came this lovely chap called Vinny Three Keys and his lovely lady fiance who was a New York Police Department detective. And I said, oh, gosh, that's, Vinny Three Keys and whatever her name was. How on earth did you guys meet? And they literally both looked at each other and said at the same time, it's a gray area.
Sounds like concrete block walls to me, gray area.
Yeah. Kind of.
Yeah.
Our guest, Eric Black, is saying Handcuffs and Coffee is also a great song title. It's a great tune. It
is a tune of mine, and that's where I came up with that. And Eric is a singer-songwriter in town. I know Eric. Thanks for visiting, Eric.
That's great. Well, good. Fabulous. So, kids, go support therecordingartist.com. It all goes to the bottom line to helping these kids and discovering real music instead of all the canned, auto-tuned crap that they're trying to feed us from corporate radio. Ugh.
This is real people live. They have to pull it off.
Yeah, that's right.
No, it's very suspenseful and musical all at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for spending time with us, Otto. And we'll talk offline. And I have a couple of ideas since we've done this.
Fantastic.
I'll give you a call, and there's some people.
Well, you're both looking lovely, and you know what? The next time I'm in LA, I will not leave town without stopping by.
We are right by the airport, and the kettle is always on for a nice cup of our sponsor, Mrs. McCartney's tea. See how I did that? See what I did there?
You can keep your day job.
Yeah. Absolutely. Somebody called Emily said thank you.
Oh, hello, Emily.
Finds her picture behind its puppy dog.
The bride.
Yes,
indeed.
Yeah.
All right. Well, lovely to see you, and we will see you guys all of a sudden. Thanks for tuning in. Share this far and wide. It will be up on YouTube in about 20 or 30 minutes, and I'll put up the link to YouTube everywhere. And we will talk to you guys all of a sudden.
Bye-bye.
Bye.